that body language. Like he wasn't, particularly happy with his conversion. From my perspective, Eric, I think he did a great job from a practical perspective. He took basically an equal-ish position, and he just understood that his position is easier to play. You highlighted just what a practical player he is. Kind of a difference between his game and Ding's.
Definitely. I mean, said today, like coming into the matchup, what kind of Ding are we getting? He's going to have to really bring his A game. And that requires, even in that last game, they might have been down at 20 seconds. Ding missed the tactical shot. He had one chance to win the game, just one moment.
Mm-hmm.
Was it hard to find? Yes. But is he capable? Absolutely. But without finding that, just Hans very comfortable in that time scramble with a bit of a push.
Yep, and I just saw this move h6, which I think that if Black had castled and not played h6, it would have been almost impossible to ever break this pin from the bishop on g5. So kind of a bit of a forcing sequence. Although there's an isolated pawn for white, usually what we look out for are things like the minor pieces on the board, as well as control of the square in front of it. I'm not seeing that Black has great control over d5. And so if the knight on c6 was on the d5 square, that might paint a different picture. But here, I'm seeing the bishop on e4 much better than the bishop on e8. And in general, I think Ding can be fairly satisfied with having a nice looking isolated pawn position. But being satisfied, Eric, the engine is still saying, yeah, it's about equal.
Yeah, the problem here is where's the counter? Like, where's the push for white? Development is good. Everything looks good, but you have this weakness on d4. And is it hard to play for black? And when you see a move like rook d6 from Hans, that's correct. You're just ready to double rooks, put pressure on d4, and ask your opponent, what are you going to do? And Ding just lost the game. I mean, you want to, after you lose the first game, you're like, okay, I got white. Let me put some pressure on. Let me build some confidence. So he's going to feel internally like, I want to get something from this game. And I don't think this is the best position to do so.
No.
It's too easy to play for black. Just put all the pieces on the d file, challenge d4, and this is why isolated queen's pawn positions generally require more pieces on the board.
Yeah.
Because if black or the defending side is able to just put all the remaining pieces and pressure that isolated pawn, you're asking yourself, well, why did I take this position? Like I'm just, yes, black has a weak pawn on c6 too, but this is pretty balanced. And what happens after e5? I was just about to ask. Like, it's just not when you want pressure, you want tension. This is none of that. This is just easy for black.
Yeah, I'm not
Target
understanding.
the isolated pawn.
I'm not understanding h3 because of the obvious pawn to e5, taking advantage of the pin. But also, it also feels to me like the king on g1, if it needed to move somewhere after a check on the first rank, moving to h2 means that the f pawn would be undefended in a lot of cases. So I guess, I mean, this has just been a really uninspiring game from Ding so far. It feels like he's not getting anything from this opening. Remember, he's playing with the white pieces, having just lost the first game. This is not that impressive. I would have expected a bit more of a fight with his first game with white.
Yeah, I mean, it's very demoralizing, very frustrating. I mean, you get mad at yourself. You have the white pieces. Your job is to make your opponent think or ask some tough questions. And here, that hasn't happened. Hans is up a pawn. Even if he loses it, generally that will be like a equal rook endgame, where he can't be on the worst side. So it's a 2-result game. And look at the time. Almost 2 minutes up for Hans. No pressure. Ding's job is to keep things as is because a6 is weak, c6 is weak. Yes, black is up a pawn, but it's hard to push them effectively. They're isolated. That c pawn can go to c5, but it can't go past that. So you have to slowly, maybe as black, play rook d5, rook d4, queen to d5, then c4. It takes some time, but at least, in the meantime, white doesn't have much counterplay. White's job is just to sit. And that's not fun. That's not fun to just sit and be down a pawn and suffer for this endgame. But that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much all that Ding can hope for. He's also down, more than a minute and a half here. It's it's just not a position where you're going to succeed. Your best case scenario is a draw, and you've got time working against you. You've got the material disadvantage here. As you mentioned, you're just kind of sitting and hoping maybe for a mistake or a failed conversion. But queen d5, rook d1 already puts a big threat on the table of checkmate on h1. Eric, this is looking like a Hans Niemann conversion, I would say.
Queen d5, Hans is preparing rook d1, aiming for h1. That's the checkmate square. Normally, as white, you want to play queen b4 here. You might want to find ways to go for perpetual. And he's played queen b4. It's all about the timing. Rook d1
Mm-hmm.
is a serious threat. Is Ding looking for more queen checks? Or is he going to have to play something passive? You don't want to play rook e1 here. Allows rook d2. Goes for
Right.
f4.
Oh my
I'm going to need
goodness.
an explanation there. That looks awful, Amon. What happens after rook d1? Rook
I mean,
g2? Is he
I
planning rook
guess
g2? Because
he has to be,
he's
right?
just weakening his own king. Then we can take on f4 and play queen e4.
Yeah.
Notice that black's queen protects the b7 square, so no check, defend c4. There's no checks for white's queen. And in the meantime, I think Hans can start invading. Maybe take on
Yeah.
f4, bring the queen to e4. And where is the counterplay? This is not how you get counterplay. This is not active
No.
counterplay.
I mean, you almost have to play queen b8 here. It's the only move that I
Queen
can
b8's a good
see,
find.
but the king is going to be able to escape these checks, is my feeling. And the queen just guards the f4 pawn. So how do we continue from here?
Might go rook
We can
d7. I might go rook d7 just because the queen now has to watch over f4. It's no longer free like it was in other positions to harass.
That's a really
Just
nice move.
oh, queen
Queen e1.
e1.
That's a killer move. That's basically full calculation, Eric. He's saying I've looked at the checks and there's not enough.
The king can run to h6. And now queen takes h4 as the mating threat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big deal
Mm.
because there's also rook takes g6, right? You can throw that move in, but
So you have to walk
depending
your
on
king in a way that doesn't allow checks as black. So f8,
yeah,
g7, h6.
and then maybe on king f8 we'll see queen b4, like a bailout queen exchange. I mean, it's not to say that it
Mm.
saves the game for white at all, but that I think Hans has sort of gone through the motions and said that he's okay with that position because don't feel like king g8 works, although maybe yeah,
No,
depending
king
on the
f8,
check.
it makes sense. We've seen this line, but I think if you take and now king f7 and just prepare a move like rook d4, white's
Yep,
pawns are awful. Black
the
is not
worst.
only up a
Yeah,
pawn, but if white doesn't do something active, Hans is playing rook to d4 and bringing his king maybe to f5.
that's right.
Um, f5 played to prevent that. Now
I
two
mean,
pawns
it doesn't.
down,
Ugh, yeah, this
but the
doesn't
king
do
can even
much.
king just is forces the king to h3 where it's cut off. And Hans can even probably walk his king to b5.
Yep, yep. This is 100% winning, and also 29 seconds is just not enough to do anything with. So we're going to see Rook A1 going for some sort of counterplay, but honestly, with the white king cut off on H3, Eric, there's just no way that you can stop this F pawn as well as keep pawns on the board.
Yeah, maybe just push the f pawn. I was looking at playing rook check, but the king cut off, what you mentioned. Um,
Yeah,
and now rook, yeah, you can check, then take on b2.
there's just
And
no
there's nothing. No,
stalemate
this is,
tricks. Yeah,
I mean, this is resignable. The only question is, does Ding favor his chances in this time control or not? Does he want to prolong it? Does he want more time in the session? Are we going to see resignation? Or because here, Amon, you can just play c3,
hmm
right? c3, give up the pawn, then king g3. You have rook h2 and f2 as a way to win,
yep,
right? Rook, that's trivial. See the body language of Ding.
yeah. And now it's C2, Rook B1, 100% over, and that is another win